Good to see each and every one of you on the live this morning. Very good morning. Thanks to you folks who are so keen and watching. Thanks to you folks, Sharon and Gail. I was just shouting out names. Laverne Wade, the mother-in-law. Good to have you there. Claire, Alexis, Chamley, Richmond, Fennell, Innes. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Claire and Fennell and Cheryl, Moses. Good to have you there. Good to have all of you. Barlow, Moses Barlow. Good to have you in the live this morning. Loretta, Gail Alicock, and all you other wonderful folks who are joining us today. Camille Cox is here as well. Camille Cox is here as well. Good to see so many of you on the live this morning. You all remember last evening on our program, on our broadcast, we talked with the mayor, we talked with the regional chairman for Region 10, we talked to the mayor of Linden, and one of the issues we talked to the mayor about was those poorly constructed infrastructural works in Linden, especially that drainage system that we saw there right outside of the Mackenzie Sports Club. Well, I was made to know this morning, according to reports, more of that drain has collapsed after a little slight rainfall there in Linden. Where's Marlon Thomas this morning? A little slight rainfall in Linden. Marlon and Karen, Pauline Mitchell, and I see Latchman is here as well. A little rainfall in Linden, and the whole thing has come crumbling down. I don't know where they're finding these contractors from. They're not the real deal. They're not authentic. It's contractors. Wenda Hudson watching us all the way from Texas. Good morning, Wenda. Good morning. Wenda says Texas supporting. Good to have you on the live, Wenda. Sherman Joseph, Lyndon Gill, Debbie Collins. As I said, the contracts. It's what it is, folks. You all know the whole thing. I said the contracts. So let's begin with that, folks. And then we'll focus on another issue the mayor draw our attention to. So let's start with this drainage system. What you're about to see, folks, it's contractors. It's corruption, it's nepotism, it's favoritism. Friends, family, and favorites. That's what it is. Let's start there. Our discussion with the mayor of Linden yesterday on some shabby work happening there in the mining town. Take a look at some of what we discussed yesterday.
So happy to be back in your town here. We were just talking to the regional chairman about contracts that are given out in Region 10 and in particular in Linden to friends, family, and favorites And you have a prime example where we are here. Tell us where we are first and foremost, so this person might not know Linden.
Well, thanks again, Sherrod, as usual. I say thank you on the fundamental thing to say that you provide us with an opportunity to have the rest of Guyana know what is really happening in Linden. As I will continue to emphasize, we are starved of the opportunity to have access to additional information. So thanks. The area that we are at the moment is in constituency 2, Central Mackenzie. This is around the Retrieve Sports Club, Rainbow, Redwood Crescent area.
Mhm.
And I think this is very important. You spoke to the regional chairman earlier, and in line with what the RDC, in promotion to what the municipality is one of the principal stakeholders would have given for the budget in terms of budget 2024, is that we have major emphasis be placed on drainage and irrigation. In May, after the floods getting into June, the government spent almost over $100 million to make the place, as they say, look good, without the involvement of the council, without the support of the policymakers.
That's interesting.
And they went ahead and they did some work in the same area to that massive amount. They did the Independence Avenue drain. They did the drain behind the Mackenzie Sports Club. They even chopped down a few of the trees, which we had objected to. We were called anti-development. Well, today you're back in the same location, Sherrod. And all three of those matters that we spoke about, you will see how they're having adverse effects on the environment, on the actual works that were done. And in essence, they're posing even more problems to the community rather than bringing solutions. So I think you can take a look, but
You show us.
well,
We are going to follow.
we were here earlier, right? We
Yeah.
were here earlier in the earlier last week. We had a flood two
So
Sundays
this is
ago.
a drainage project here.
Yeah, this is one of the drainage projects. We had a flood 2 Sundays ago, and when we had that flood, we had several communities that suffer because of erosion and poor drainage. And this is one of the area we look. And let me say this. You see that you saw that the thing is they cleared out the drain. Whoever the contractor is, cleared out the drain. But we at one point saw when this entire drain had collapsed into this entire area. But this is what we are saying. That is going to be done. So we are back here today as they clear this out to give we another cosmetic job. But our concern
So this was already cast, concreted, and has been destroyed.
This is a 17 million project signed off and as completed, and which was uncovered after the floods last 2 Sundays ago. And as it was uncovered, we now saw that the contractor is back here to give you a quick cleanup again. But our concern is not the cleanup. Our concern is the entire structure is compromised. And I can say that, look, the last time I was here pulling blocks out with my hand, we can knock these things again. You see the contractor done clean up to put back. But here what's going on. You can still move this whole thing away.
Wow.
This whole thing could be removed.
That's somebody testing. That's not
And you must ask yourself, if the
we're
thing,
seeing the movement here.
if the thing, but you can move the whole blocks. The whole thing can be chipped away. You can take it apart with your hands. Look, you can take this thing apart with your hands.
And you said this cost us.
Look, you can take this apart with your hands.
Over $17 million.
$17 million. This is coming apart in your hand. So you imagine when the pressure comes down. So as they hurry to now remedy this because it was uncovered, imagine what is happening. It's the same thing happening here.
Yeah.
It is the same thing happening with the entire project. But now we're going to have someone give us another cosmetic work. Look,
so this is going to be 17 million plus now.
17 million plus. But now we can't call it a plus because I can say to you, when this drain collapsed, it also allowed for further flooding in the community. The concern of the town is should this drain continue to suffer like this, the community suffers. So then it means this entire work should be deemed as condemned and redone. That is what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot have another less than 2 hours of rainfall and this drain collapse. The contractor is back to give you another shakedown, and we are still seeing the foundation of the work that he is prepared to put back as the shakedown. So this entire thing got to come out.
Mr. Mayor, when we talk about friends, family, and favorites, we don't say that lightly. This is rumored to be a project being executed by a municipal official's spouse.
Well, I was just speaking to the Regional Democratic Council. I spoke to the regional chairman. The council expressed to me that the work was given to the spouse of Mr. Gasper. This is Mrs. Gasper, who runs the company. I'll check that to confirm. The name of the company is...
Mr. Mayor, if you step up here, I just want to give a sweep of all of this stuff here. Go right ahead. So it's a municipal official spouse.
Yeah, well, that's what we were
all
told.
This here were the blocks that caved in here.
All this whole wall. But this is not the end of it. You look at the rest of the wall on the next side of the road, you'll see it eroding from off of the road into the drain.
Yep.
And we can take a walk over to the next side, Sharon.
I hope we do. Folks, this is just some of that whole wall. Now see these steel rods here? That whole wall just gave way.
How you doing, Nikki?
Broke up there.
Good. Yeah, man.
Good afternoon. All of that. I'm going to be picking up your audio here still.
Yes, yes. So I think what we wanted to show.
So all of this is just that wall.
That even though the work was
I'm going to catch you back with the mayor in a second.
As being done.
This is criminal
inadequate.
Here. This is criminal. All right, I got to find my way up back here now.
Of a corrective work to be done.
Almost
so even though it's being looked at.
So this is another view of that area there the mayor was just talking just about. Where the entire drain, the $17 million just collapsed.
Yes.
Another view of that, folks. All right, let's catch you back with the mayor. It's a hot day here in Linden, folks. Very hot day in Linden. And the mayor has another ear he's going to show us. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. What are we looking at now?
So we're looking at the continuation of the same drain. And as we look to see that they are trying to work to fix what was broken, what we were actually seeing is that the entire work is broken, not just the part that you saw. The entire work is broken.
Wow.
Every part of this is cracked. So that's the point I was making over the last one. You see where here is cracked too? So it's only a matter of time before this entire thing comes off. And there you see the crack, the entire drain is compromised.
So this is a twist-up drain because the land is just simply pushing.
Yeah, the land is just simply pushing the drain into the drain.
My God, this should be criminal. You know, what's the
Well, you know, at the level of the municipality, let me say why this is important.
Mr. Mayor, I want to stick in there that the Attorney General said quite recently that contractors will be penalized for kind of work like this.
Well, we
got to come to Linden.
Well, more than Linden, we hope that first that's a sincere policy, you know, because in not having these structures work for the reason they were intended and function for the reason that they were intended, over the past 4 months, and unfortunately, when you see people suffering, that is what the results of the sort of incompetence that you see when you don't have quality works and value for money. People suffer. So we hope for that suffering that persons would have entailed, and for those contractors and engineers who are poorly performing, more so incompetently, that they too should be made to pay not only penalties, but in line with what the Attorney General said. He will have to ensure that as part of the legal structure, he protect Guyanese citizens. I can say this to you. Persons over the past 2 Sundays who suffered significant and severe flooding are today still picking up the pieces. And the foundation for that, as we have said, is because 3 things we wanted. We wanted to understand the drainage network so that we know how these drains are properly flowing. We wanted to know the flow structure and the flow pattern in this community of how water is interacting with the drainage network. We needed maps on how these drains are designed, and we needed an hydrologist so that we understand how these structures are being put down in a hilly sand and clay and a very slopish community. So those are things when you can able to guide contractors, guide engineers on how to put down these sort of structures in the community of Linden.
So there we have it, folks. There we have it. What's happened there? What's happening there, rather, in Linden? And as I said, we have an update. The authorities there are telling us after just some slight rainfall, this is the situation there in Linden currently. There's the current situation. There more of that revetment work has broken off. And as the mayor rightfully said, the drain falling in the drain. You know, the wall there, the revetment work. And this is just on the periphery of the Mackenzie Sports Club ground. Just on the periphery there. Just some slight rainfall, they tell us, and portions of that revetment work breaking off. Breaking off. Folks, I know you come and we get caught up in the information, but I want you all to share the live too so other folks can come into contact with valid and credible information, because for some people, this installed regime transformational. And for us, we don't feel the same way, because we see things like that every single day across this country. We see that every single day, and so we know what it is. We know the whole thing. We know the whole thing. So smash that emoji button for us. Smash it for us, folks. And share. Share the live as well. Let's touch on some other issues, and then we're gonna circle back. We're gonna circle back to that very issue there, and some other issues in Linden, in the mining junk. Good morning, guys. Good to see so many of you on the live this morning. Brenda and Wernella, Hit Narain, Diane Gibson, Sheila Boychild is here as well. Everett, thanks for the thing. Thanks for the thing. Thanks for the thing. You and all the others who help us out. Yvette Madu, Lincoln King, Vanilla Garnett. Good morning to each and every one of you. Sheila Boychild said, Pim. Well, the UN telling us that Venezuela has become even more repressive since that vote in July. Wasn't it July 28th, I think, that they went to the polls there in Venezuela? July 28th. Isn't it? Isn't it, folks? Isn't it? Share the live for us. Smash that emoji button. Yep. July 28th, that happened. And the UN telling us that they have become even more repressive. That's the information we have this morning. Let me make sure I'm capturing it right. They said they are crushing, they have escalated repressive tactics. According to Reuters, who is reporting on this, based on what the UN is saying, they're escalating repressive tactics to crush peaceful protests and to keep power. But like we've seen this movie before, with Nicolas Maduro and the international community, there were questionable elections there and so on. And then when things get a little dicey with the oil market, the US seemed to look past their anti-democratic ways. And now we're back here again. Unfortunately, we'll continue to cover that. We'll continue to cover that. You all know the running by Melissa Atwell's mother and grandmother's place in Eccles quite recently. Yeah, they were in at them, said they're looking for drugs. Believe it or not. If you all know the story, you know the whole thing. That is what they want us to believe. Or they're looking for drugs. Right? They're going to harass Atwell's mother and grandmother. Is it continued wickedness, folks, of the PPP? The continued wickedness of the PPP. And that's what transpired in the East Bank yesterday. That's a piece of the footage you're seeing there of when folks, we cannot allow these things to pass lightly, you know. We cannot allow these things to pass lightly. I saw that the Caribbean Ghanaian Institute of Democracy put out a statement last evening. PNCR, the Alliance for Change, and rightly so. Rightly so. You know, at the end of the day, a whole host of things running through your thoughts. A set of things running through your thoughts. And it occurred to me how bizarre this whole episode was yesterday. You know, and even an article in today's newspaper. When you weigh it against the foolishness they're trying to tell us. In this morning's papers, this one of the headlines. Police destroy 17 million in ganja. Of course, you could tell your location already if you've been following similar stories. At a farm in the Berbice River. Ayabo, Natasha, Kyle Bino, at a farm in the Berbice River. Kyle, I see this name in a little bit jump around here. Good to have all of you on the live this morning. The thing with finding ganja in all of these farms in the Berbice River, you could never find the farmer. You could never find a court worker, a farm worker going through the courts. That's what I was thinking. You could never find a farm worker. The farmer, a farm hand, being charged. But you're finding acres upon acres upon acres of marijuana being farmed. But they only turn up at these farms when nobody's there. They're only turning up at these farms when nobody's there. But Melly Mel grandmother and mother were unlucky to be home yesterday when the police came. The police swooped down on a cocaine operation quite recently. Was it region what? 7, region 1, whichever region. 4.4 tons of cocaine seized. 4.4 tons of it was seized. They didn't apprehend one body. The Ghana police force, the canoe, or is it the canoe? They said when the people saw them coming, they fled into the jungle. It's stranger than fiction. They fled into the jungle. Yesterday again, 17 million in ganja discovered. But the people probably run in the jungle. But as I've said elsewhere, yesterday, you had people flicking in an alley, but 75 of them, jumping from treetop to the ground and back again. Some assaulting off rooftops at the home of Melly Mel's mom and her grandmother. On suspicion that narcotics were stored there. On suspicion. But Kyle and Deborah and Yvette, Gail and Brian Daniels, what caught my attention? For having 75 officers there and 20 vehicles, 27 grams of cannabis they found in an alleyway. Not on the premises of the Atwells. No, in an alleyway. In an alleyway. And then the police waste a whole press statement, to tell us that this 27 grams was going to be dusted for fingerprints. Not the 47 million that just yesterday was uncovered in the Burbage River. Right? Not that, or how much ever millions it was. No, it's 27 grams. What's it? Folks, y'all know, I don't know these things too clear. What's the street value of 27 grams of ganja on the streets? What's the street value for that? 27 grams. That's what men flicking through an alley, jumping over a fence. Heavily armed. 15 police Land Cruisers. 27 grams. Not at the house, you know. In the alley next door. Or the alley somewhere in the vicinity. 27 grams of cannabis in an alleyway. So apparently you responsibility for every weed. I'm using weed in the broad sense. Every blade of grass in the alley. You somehow have given account to City Hall. How it meet there. Yvette Madden says it's laughable because it is. Yvette. It's highly laughable. Highly laughable. Highly laughable. So about 75 policemen, 15 Land Cruisers. Big searchlight, helicopter, drone. All of that. And you know what? Brian Daniels said that's about $10,000. The manpower loan for the operation like that yesterday must be $10 million. But all of that, and they said 27 grams. Brian is estimating it's about $10,000. And now US. This is not US. So it's about 50 US. $10,000. It's about 50 US. I see folks in this Jaglio send them. You all know the whole thing. You all know the whole story. And then some. The whole story and then some. But that's what happened in this country. And then when Bertrand Ramcharan, former Chancellor of the University of Guyana, says they're exhibiting autocratic tendencies, trying to repress dissent, they're upset. They're annoyed, they're vexed. But Professor Bertram Rancharan, he knows the whole story. I'm telling you, the fellow knows the whole thing. Autocratic regime. Isn't that what he said? Yeah. Isn't that what he said? Displaying autocratic tendencies. Same people. Same folks. It's autocratic, they're autocratic. Very autocratic. That being said, folks, let's let's move on. We may circle back to this later on in our broadcast. Little later on in our broadcast. You all heard Winston Jordan saying the teachers even got a mouse out of this deal with the government on pay increase. Right? You know this matter concerning whether the teachers had a right to strike and should have monies deducted for absent days, quote unquote absent days. You know the matter still in the court and continues today. I thought as part of the bargaining, the union might have said to the government in good faith, Anil, withdraw this matter in good faith. So the little increase, if any increase at all, could get taken back and deducted in absent days. This government is so wicked. As Neon says, land of autocracy. It is so wicked. My God. It is so wicked. It is so wicked. So we right back there. Right back there all over again. Right back there. Let's see about the matters we followed. Defending the indefensible. Defending the indefensible. So they're landing this new, or have landed, the new Damara Harbor Bridge. They've landed it at Peters Hall. They want to bully the people out of their property. Bully them. And while the courts have said the government has a right to acquire this land, it doesn't have a right not to compensate the people before the land is acquired. That's part of what the court is saying. That's part of what the court is saying today. All right? That's part of what the court is saying. You see, we got to watch these autocratic tendencies. We got to watch them. We got to watch them very, very carefully. And we got some ways to go this morning. So he's defending that in good nature on that other issue. Right? You trying to tell me the court couldn't take out that matter rather the government couldn't take out that matter from before the court concerning them trying to deduct money from the teacher's salary for what they claim are absent days? Huh? You tell me they could not have done that? And you want, I think, we should be celebrating these people or something like that? It's wickedness. That's what I want to tell you. It's wickedness. Stay with us for a second, folks. I need to shift around for a bit. It's nothing but wickedness. I know the whole thing. I did say I may have circled back to this issue with Mel, mother and grandmother. Wickedness. That's what it is, folks. That too is wickedness. That too is wickedness. Forgive me, folks. We're jumping through some hoops at the back end here. Jumping through some hoops. It'll be worth the while. It'll be worth the while. Folks, as I said, I did want to come back to this issue because it's not a light one. And I'm happy so many voices are being raised on it. Tremendously happy that so many voices are being raised on all fronts. And this, I wanted to circle back to this. I'm privileged to have on the phone with me this morning on our broadcast the one and only Melissa Atwell, better known, popularly known as Melly Mel. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome to our broadcast. A very good morning. Well, you have had your hands full. You've had your hands full over the last few hours. Melly Mel, you've been talking the things because you know what you're talking about. You have the information out there. The government is vexed. Jagdio, Irfan, the whole pack of them, vexed and upset. The police force, they're angry at you, and that is part of what we saw play out here yesterday. Help us to understand what transpired.
Sit. They showed up. They said they with a piece of paper in their hand. They said they come to search for guns, ammunition, narcotics, the whole thing. So my mom was like, "Okay, go ahead and search." But remember, it's two old people. My grandmother is very, very sick right now. So it wasn't. My mother said she didn't know what to do because they just showed up. A set of them to search. She was like, "Okay, fine." Go ahead and search because she knows that, she don't have anything illegal or stuff like that. They asked her if she have any money. So she was like we don't really keep cash at the house. She showed them the amount of money.
Melly, I'm certain since she see this whole entourage by the gate, they must be wondering like they get the wrong address because
I don't exactly because she was like she didn't understand what going on, so she just opened the door. She said she didn't even really had on any clothes. She was like, "What's up?" She thought probably to get a wrong address or they're looking for somebody that is nothing. So she come out to answer But apparently they claim to get now, Sharon, you go to do a search on a house, right? For narcotics and ammunition and guns, right? I would think that the police would be intelligent enough and they would have done these raids before if they're searching for narcotics. You search the 3 bedrooms, you tumble up, you pull out drawer, you open suitcase, you do whatever. You went to the veranda area. That's where I normally keep the hampers and stuff that I would pack for people and the stuff that I would have to give away, clothes and all these things. They go to the veranda area. They search, they open the suitcase. Mind you, they didn't search the living room. They didn't search the kitchen, then open the cupboards in the kitchen, then check, under the sink. They didn't check in the oven, then check in the freezer, then check behind the fridge, nothing. They didn't search the kitchen, they didn't search the living room. Their focus was more on the 3 bedrooms and on the veranda outside. They searched. At one point, my mom said when the police was searching, she could hear the police, one of them sucking the teeth and saying, "This is beer skunt." Wow. Sorry for cursing on your program. Right? I don't want to say which one of the police because I don't want to put them in problem because I know some of them, they really didn't want to be there. They were just there because of circumstances. Mm-hmm. Anyway, they searched. They didn't search the living room. They didn't search the kitchen. Now you come to do a search for narcotics, ammunition, guns, whatever it is. You don't give the house a thorough search. You're gonna check in the roof. You're gonna check in the roof. You're gonna check. You're gonna lift up the chair to see if we get any stash in the chair. You're gonna check in the freezer. Nothing. So you come out the house. You go downstairs in the yard. You search in the yard. You don't find nothing. But then 2 police jump over in a alleyway. This is the alleyway behind the houses them in Eccles. There's one alleyway with a gutter and there's a lot of sometimes trees growing to the back there and stuff. So they jump behind there. Claim they find I don't know whatever. I don't even know it's 27 gram of weed. Whatever 27 how much gram of weed in a Ziploc bag. Mind you, my nephew would have come from the business at that point after his grandmother called him and tell him that the police are there. So he came in to check on them because it's just the 2 of them living there. And he said, well, when he came, they were searching. They were at the back in the alleyway or something searching. Didn't see them leave with anything. The neighbor who was watching them as well didn't see them leave with anything. They jumped in the van and they left. So I was like, okay, so they come. So while talking to my mother, talking to the neighbors and stuff, I'm saying, okay, they come, they search, they didn't find anything. What was the purpose? She don't know. They said, go and somebody told them that well, apparently got to be me. I sending in foreign weed in barrel and boxes and suitcases. However, I allegedly sending in this weed to my mother house or to my mom, to my grandmother, whichever. And so they come for search. So I was surprised after after it blew up on social media, they come and say, oh, they find 27 grand of weed. Nobody, you see, y'all left with nothing. If y'all find the weed, it's not well, they'll find it at the house or in the yard or anything, but still you wouldn't say, oh, well, we inform anybody, well, we find this, we got this, nothing. Y'all didn't say anything. Y'all jump in a van and leave, didn't talk to nobody. The neighbors didn't see y'all left with nothing. Nobody see y'all left with nothing, but suddenly y'all struck with 27 grams of weed. When it hits social media,
wow, interesting. Very interesting. You know, I was making
then because I'm seeing the conversation in the police group, by the way, by source, which is not police in the group, they're saying, oh, her mom saw we coming and our grandmother or mother wanted them throw the weed through the window to the alleyway. Sherrod, we have a very big backyard. Very big backyard. The distance from the bedroom window and the kitchen window to this alleyway is like I can't even I can't tell you how far it is. The banana tree that they claim to find in this alleyway is all the way just behind, in the opposite direction in the next. The window got grills and mosquito mesh.
Mm-hmm.
How are they throwing weed from the window all the way to that not a alleyway? And in a banana tree. Make it make sense.
Stranger than fiction. The thing just makes no sense. And I'm being made to understand too that somehow the Guyana police force is trying to draw your young son into all of this. I saw some of that reported on social media as well.
It's my son. It's my son. The aim was to make it look as though my son does drugs, and then to lock him up. But clearly they don't do proper intelligent work, because if they did, then they would know that the only two persons living at that property is my mom and my grandmother. My son don't live there. Her grandchildren visit her on the weekends. The only other person that visits there is the nurse, goes there 4 times a week.
Such poor policing by the Guyana police force that, I'm certain could be spending these resources elsewhere, because a mutual friend of ours, we were talking last evening and we said, you call for a police van now because a real crime occurring at your residence or something like that. You can't get one police to come. We could get all these policemen being used by the state to repress, to intimidate, to victimize and marginalize people. What do you think? And I know you offered some thoughts when we were starting this discussion, but what do you think is at the heart of this kind of harassment?
Of course, it's victimization. They were sent by somebody. Nobody in the police force know about this sort, except for Mahendra Singh. Mahendra Singh is one of those police officers that currently have 3 rape matters that the covering down for he, the hiding for he, that he really would have sexually assaulted 3 police officers. I literally, and I'm currently right now getting up a lawyer for one of those police officers because she was given no justice. 3, I currently have sexual assault, apparently he sexually assault. He usually sexually assault the female police officers in the Guyana police force, and they cover it down. They don't ever do him anything. Interesting, and I would have made this public a couple of months ago. Now, Budram is another one that I'm preparing a file on, and I don't want to say anything. Next thing you know, for Budram come and sue you again for something that I say, like as in the case of Indar. But Budram is someone that I'm preparing a file on right now. I won't want to say what it is, but it's going to come out soon. So those are the only 2 persons that know about the search.
Wow. Interesting times. And this is a government that says, I'm trying to fight off this label of being an autocratic government, but clearly using the state to repress people. We saw Rickford Burke's organization, the Alliance for Change, we saw PNCR, all come to defense and stating that this is repression, plain and simple, not wanting the kind of truth that you speak to power in this country to continue, especially when you're heading into an election season. Clearly, Melissa.
Clearly. I just want them to know that the world is watching, and the story that they're trying to navigate or they're trying to push, then the story changed. Or my sister recently had some kind of run with the law. My sister haven't lived in Ghana in almost 4 years and is currently a serving member of the U.S. Army.
My Lord. So it's your son, then it's your sister, is your grandmother, is your mother. This is madness. This is madness. This is mad. You know, it would be so laughable. Saving except it involves innocent lives, like your son, like your parent, like your grandmother, who and get no part in the political work, the human rights work that you do, the advocacy work that you do, but they're drawn into all of this because you got people who got a little bit of power, who can lose it very soon, who doing all this foolishness. It's very sad. I mean, how are you all holding up as a family? Not to get into all your private and personal details. How is your mother and your grandmother doing since all this ordeal?
Well, unfortunately, my grandmother had a doctor's appointment today. My grandma, like I said, my grandma is very, very sick. She hasn't eaten any solid food for the last 3 weeks. So even if she was going to throw the wheat, she really had the strength to throw it. Anyways, let me come off of though. But my mother, my grandma, they were very traumatized, very, very traumatized. But we're holding up.
Yeah. Belly Mel, thanks on such short notice. Thanks on such very short notice for coming by and giving us an update on this matter and how things are going. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, there, Sherrod.
All right. Good. Have a great day. Folks, there it is. There it is. I wanted you to hear from Melly Mel herself. Some of what's happening behind the scenes, some of what she knew transpired yesterday. Melly Mel lives in a whole different country. A whole different country. Why you don't go to the States in your backyard and your alleyway and see what you're seeing there? Why y'all don't go there? Folks, y'all see the madness happening in this autocratic, repressive state? Y'all see what's happening here? My Lord, it's madness in this country, top to bottom. Thank you so much, Melly Mel, for coming by rather, and sharing that information with us. And you folks heard the allegations there about Budram and Mutu and Suraj Bali and all you folks. You heard the allegations. There's a lot of foolishness happening in the Guyana Police Force. A lot of foolishness happening in the Guyana Police Force. Right? A lot of foolishness and a lot of police officers. They got a lot of good police officers by the same token, a lot of professional people. But you got a lot of people who are misconducting themselves. Who are totally misconducting themselves. You heard those allegations. Who involved in what and so forth. Sad time. Let's wrap it up, folks. Let's wrap it up. A couple of the other things we're following, we can have to leave with some of this for homework. Local Government Commission, out of commission since about April, if not May. Nothing I'm doing there. And this autocratic government leaves. The autocratic government, they leave these matters in limbo because in the absence of the Local Government Commission, the minister can act unilaterally. And that is what this is about. Or perhaps the Local Government Commission slowing down the work of the ministry. According to Vikram, who said the Petroleum Commission would slow down the decision making. So who needs a Local Government Commission? How the place with that? And this is how one of the areas in which City Hall and central government could be working together. But you see the autocratic regime, they wouldn't mind if a plague, you have an outbreak of Ebola or something like that in this capital. They say, City Hall. They could be working hand in hand, ensuring proper garbage disposal, efficient garbage pickups and so on. You see the struggle. You know things are a bit tight. And you're all sitting on your hand. The autocrats. So we hear City Hall is supposed to be approaching government for some bailout concerning, the garbage situation in this country and they need to pay the contractors. Not a letter to the press. Roads and Latem begging for repairs. Nothing doing. Nothing and doing. And now Edgel trying to take bread out of people's mouth on the roads in this country. Going after truck drivers. So they're breaking up the roads. No more lawlessness. They encourage the lawlessness, you know. Same PPP. Encourage the lawlessness. And then they're coming now to swoop down as though they are saviors. They're no savior. They're no savior. Leaving you some of that for homework this morning. Look at some of the other things we're following here. Oh, the highway projects going to create jobs. You're going to be looking for people who claim living on the highway and employed in the rehabilitation work coming to the Linden Suicide Highway. If it ever gets started before the next election, I believe they are just interested in that big headline, contract signing and so on, but nothing really going on. Nothing really going on. But to get past the gate, oh, we can hire people. Jobs will be created. Jobs will be created. I see them saying that the magistrate, Leron Daly, I think it is, orchestrating sickness to delay the court cases and these bogus, trumped-up charges with these election cases. Disrespectful to the learned magistrate, our worship and honor. Disrespectful. Totally disrespectful. Totally disrespectful. So if it's not roads in Letem, out of whack, if it's not roads in Linden, falling apart, the Conversation 3 Road project, still doing, you know, they said finished, but it's still working on the finished road. This is the final touches. Final touches. Good, folks. And then this. Next. I walk along the road. Next. Some things swirling in my head. That fella that murdered his wife. It's free and easy. It's too early in the morning to touch that. What I will touch, folks, before we run off, is some of the other issues I spoke with the mayor in Linden, Sharma Solomon, on some of the other infrastructural projects, and asking him, why what we see happening in Linden is happening. The failure at good, sturdy infrastructural projects and works there in Linden. Take a listen to some of what we discussed.
Why we are focusing on drainage and irrigation and the issues, as the RDC mentioned, as a principal stakeholder, we are aware of the sort of sufferings in the town of Linden. We see them on a frequent basis when it comes to heavy and more so flash flooding in terms of rainfall. And it is because of that, as I mentioned earlier, the town council is very cognizant of what we would like to see, which would be proper cleaning and clearing of these creeks and canals to ensure the proper infrastructure is in place to ensure that these creeks and canals are cleared properly in terms of drainage. Maintenance work, we've asked that the CDC and the NDNIA and also those SIP work come back to the municipality so that we're able to manage them properly and they don't end up in the hands of family, friends, and favorite, and they're used for political purposes. We've also asked that we have a specialist to come in so that we can see what is happening in terms of the drainage network, the flow pattern, and also some maps. Because of that, the council did not engage the municipality or the RDC. They went ahead in the month of May, coming for the flag raising, as I mentioned earlier, and they did their own thing. One of what they did outside of the Independence Avenue drainage, they did some work at the Retrieve at the back of the Mackenzie Sports Club and the Mackenzie High School. And I want this to be known clearly, because I remember when we had some municipal councillors, Councillor Critchlow and Councillor Kissoon, who were out there just passing by to see what was happening. As constituency councillors, this is constituency 2 that we're in. Councillor Kissoon is the constituency elected councillor of constituency 2. And for this, she was given a severe, both councillors, in fact, were given a severe tongue licking.
They were assaulted for
They
all
were
intents and
assaulted.
purposes.
They were assaulted because the matter was taken to the police station and the gentleman was warned. But today, months on, you can see the work that was done. The drain is clogged. The materials that are on top of the infrastructure, which is Mackenzie Sports Club, are all now washing down into the drain. And it is as a result of that, just like the collapsing drain that was done by Forest Choice Mart, it is the same that is happening now. The work is now compromising the actual drainage and flow of the water that you can see just now, because it's now silted, and because all the trees that would have been there to prevent the erosion were removed, it now allows for the entire drain to now become easily silted. And as such, more monies will now need to be done to clear that drain. So the entire work for 77 million, two things we must be very mindful of. That it was not spent where it should have been spent, and flooding eventually came. And when it was spent, the quality of works that were given is what we are actually seeing now. Either it's collapsing or it's back in the drains, posing more problems in terms of flooding. But let us say, at the end of it all, we had the big excitement around sports club, but right outside the sports club, the infrastructure is collapsing.
Wow. Interesting, interesting. Again, I want to underscore that no contact was made with the municipality or region when the government parachuted in to do this work here.
No, you see, and we want to make this very point known. We have always maintained that in line with our constitutional obligation in Article 13, government must be engaged with municipal councils to ensure that local government works, but also in line with 2801 that provides for council and central government to work. We have always maintained our open engagement and readiness to facilitate that. We've always engaged our openness and readiness to see what is in the councils to make them work. On those two levels, whether it is government's unwillingness or government's imposition of administrators, those things are making the work of the council very difficult. But nevertheless, as a council, we remain committed to ensure working with central government so as to bring relief and solutions. So no, they did not engage the council. They went directly to the REO and the town clerk, and they deputized them. In fact, it was the Prime Minister twice who deputized both the town clerk and deputized also the REO by saying he is working closely with the municipality, he is working closely with the RDC in these two officials. And to date, when further engaged, the Prime Minister is saying that these matters must now be referred to the local government ministry. In essence, the Prime Minister has taken his hands off of this matter after leaving us with the works of incompetent administrators. So instead of working with the policy makers where these matters could have been avoided, and people like to say two things: we're anti-development, we find it difficult to work with the government, but more so we can show where we are always ready and prepared to work with the government. It is government that is unwilling to do that work. And where when we object to the sort of shabby development, where we have proven right and have been vindicated because of the outcome of the quality of work. So it is about time that Londoners understand that we are moving to a point, people say it's election time. But before we are given more nonsense and further misery, because we'll go on a road just now, people waited their whole life. And now they're saying it's best they never had the road because it's bringing them further misery. You will understand that most of these works, we'll have to stop them as a community before they obstruct our lives. And you will see where the 88 million ice water road, because it was stopped, people are now putting in drains, even though they had to suffer before that was done.
Mr. Mayor, while I have your attention, we may not get to visit this project back. But 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was here, we were at a school that was being delayed for a week because they were now doing some infrastructural work. There's some work.
Yes. Well,
at that school.
I'm glad you asked about that.
The kids are out, the dorms are ready.
Well, that was the student hostel, and I remember the concern was back in the day, in the early part of this holiday, when the minister had spoken about learning loss because of the striking teachers. So we had the teachers strike. We had 2 months of holidays, and now we have children home for further 3 weeks and are not certain when they will get back to school. But more shocking is that no provision would have been put in place for almost 70 children that stays at the Amelia's Ward Student Hostel. And like I said before, these are children from mostly interior locations where their parents have to find so much to get them a decent education. Sometimes it will take them almost $20,000 to $30,000 to accommodate their children in Linden. And we are speaking about 70 students, mostly indigenous, who are now displaced because it was only a few days before school open or reopen that they started to do the student hostel. And now we don't know when that is going to be reopened. And those are students that are accommodated in schools across Linden that have now been displaced from those interior locations.
It seems as though the new term kind of snuck up on the government,
Well,
snuck up on the administration.
but the fact that the minister was speaking about learning loss during the protests or the teachers' strike, and then we know we had the holiday, it just goes to show the level of planning and preparedness that we have, not only for the student hostel, but many of the institutions that students and pupils right now, including the Amelia's Ward Primary School, in fact, the Bambia Primary School, that those 800 pupils are waiting on almost 2 years in. Why?
Morning, we're going to leave it there this morning, folks. Thanks for staying with us. We're just after 9 at our end here. Thanks for joining our broadcast this morning. Chisel Chipper and Leon Harding and Naomi Drucker, Naomi, and I see Roxanne Garraway here. And all the other folks, Neville Cedal, I see Siobhan McDonald joining us too. Candy. Good to have Marlene Lorma on the live this morning. Good to see Marlene Thomas, Wenda Hudson, Fennell Innes. Good to have all of you here this morning, folks. We're going to see you guys right back here on our next broadcast. Have a fantastic day and stay safe. Leon and Chris and Lincoln, Bushmaster, stay safe. That's it from our end. Until we see you guys later on. Have a fantastic rest of the day.